Okay, so I'm going to jump in and I'm going to tell you a story about finding a gold coin in a dumpster. I'm going to change a detail or two to hide the identities of everyone involved, including myself, but nothing that you're about to hear is made up or exaggerated. This story has a little bit of everything for you. It has highs and lows. It has a good-looking hero, some treasure, and a bank of dumpsters with 5-day-old garbage. So maybe we back this up a few weeks. I had a conversation with someone who wanted to send me a book. I didn't feel like anyone needed to be sending me anything, but I knew the person well enough to know that a book was not going to set them back, and I figured that I could always reciprocate. I had a feeling, though, that this was not going to be a normal book. It was probably going to be something fancy, but we'll come back to that. A week passed and I'd kind of forgotten about the whole thing. We had a serious medical issue sneak up on us, and I was in the middle of that when I got a message from the person telling me that something had been delivered a few days back. Okay, so I was at the hospital and I was just talking to the surgeon. Everything went well, by the way, but I'm going to leave the rest of that story out. I'll just say that it had been a long day, and the message popped up just as I sat down and turned my phone back on. So the rest of the morning passed, then the afternoon, then later that night I was running to grab some soup, which I think is what you do when you're just looking for a way to feel useful, and then on the way home I swung by the mailbox to grab the package. It was empty. It had some junk mail but no package, which meant the postman had hand-delivered it. Now, it's a really weird thing having a YouTube channel that you try to keep anonymous. You guard your name, you guard your address. Maybe you give an alternative address that you have access to. Ideally, I suppose you have a P.O. box. But if you're me, you eventually get tired of the headache of checking something across town, especially when you have quick access to commercial mailboxes, both at work and close to home. Well, that was my first mistake. Because of the value, the package was delivered directly to a human, and in this case, to a human who had no idea who or what 2 is 1 is. So the strange package was opened, it was passed around, eventually deemed to be junk, and then it was thrown away. Okay, so you're probably thinking, let's get on with it. Anyway, sped around to the dumpsters and saw that they hadn't probably been emptied since Friday when it was delivered. And I think that that's the most positive way that I can say that they were overflowing with garbage. They smelled like plum wine and waffles, but in a bad way. Something was moving in one of them. Quick call, and I had it narrowed down to 2 dumpsters. I knew the bag or bags would be in were black. I knew that they probably had red ties. So that narrowed it down to a few dozen bags of garbage. Not like cardboard and paper garbage, food garbage. Out of the few dozen, I pretty quickly had it down to 6 or 7, and I started pouring them out. The first bag had cracked eggs, like hundreds of them. It also had a giant cookbook, and I wondered for a minute if that was the intended book, but the eggs really didn't make sense, so I kept going. A few more, and I found an envelope addressed to 2 is 1. It was open and empty. And I thought for a minute maybe the search was done at that point, but I did find a card next, but nothing else in the bag. So at that point I figured I was close. I poured out the rest of the bags, and I found this. Now, this was not what I was expecting, but it obviously stood out to me in a pile of garbage. I guess I can see how somebody would overlook this. It might look like a marketing calendar of some kind, but I knew what it was. So it's dark. I was having some trouble seeing really anything at all, but I read the note as well as I could. It was covered in butter, and sure enough, somebody had sent me a gold coin. And not just any gold coin. This is a gold coin that you can almost not even get a hold of. It's a 2017 high relief Perth Mint Year of the Rooster 1 ounce gold coin. There are 388 of these in existence, but we were 1 garbage day away from there being 387. So back to this story. I cleaned up the pile. Mildly rancid butter and eggshells. We used Kleenexes, tape, packing foam, wet paper towels. So I'm grabbing snow. I'm trying to clean up my hands as well as I could, maybe wipe off my face a little bit. I wasn't crying, you were crying. I'm just kidding. Actually, it really hadn't sunk in at that point. I was just kind of numb to the whole thing, I guess. It had been a long day, a long week, no tears. I just really wasn't sure why anyone would send me something like this. So here I am in a bank of dumpsters in an alley across from my bar, holding a gold coin up to the street light, butter on my face, raccoon behind one of the dumpsters. Just wondering what the hell just happened. So I drove home and cleaned everything up, and amazingly, nothing is damaged except the letter. So let me show you the coin a little bit more closely. These high relief coins are deceiving. I hadn't seen one in person before, but I knew it was announced by the depth of the relief. They are just amazing looking coins. The sender knows the whole story by now. I was a little embarrassed to tell it, but I've also told him that I just can't keep the coin. He insists that I do. We will see, but I just figured the story is too good not to tell. It's almost good enough to make a YouTube video about. Almost. One thing's for sure though, if you want an example of a model human, the anonymous sender, the person who sent this coin, is definitely a good one. This is definitely not something that I'm going to forget anytime soon. So let me know what you think. Decent story? I think years from now, I'll still be saying, hey, remember that time that I went dumpster diving and found some gold? Anyway, leave a comment. Hit the like button if you like plum wine and waffles, and make sure that you're subscribed if you'd like to see more on the topic. What's the topic? Some of you might be asking by now. Well, mainly it's gold. And if you're still here, thank you again for watching. I always appreciate your time. Take care.